Now back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Gaston's White River Resort, and Barton Power Sports.
And welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. Open mic Saturday, the first one for 2016.
Can you believe that?
It's 2000. We must be getting older. These years keep piling up.
We're going to be here 15 years this year.
Yeah, it's coming up.
15th year.
Of course.
That's amazing.
And it's amazing. I'm Dave Gabbard, one of your co-hosts for this segment, the first open mic Saturday for 2016. Got my other brother Daryl sitting across from me.
Good morning.
Got Mr. Gene Smith, hunter education guru here in the Memphis area. Got Greg Ratliff, our producer, sitting on the other side of the glass. He had me worried there for a minute. I heard that dead airspace. I had to see if he got beamed up or not.
It's a moment for Larry.
But Greg keeps us straight.
It's something that you guys hear nothing, but there's actually something playing on the air.
Okay.
It's a computer thing. It's our listeners won't care, but they heard a commercial. You heard nothing.
Okay. Good.
Above our artificial intelligence level,
Yes.
I guess. There, we don't punch buttons, folks. We just talk.
That's all.
That's all. But now our next, we've been talking fishing, we've been talking duck hunting, we've been talking water, and we're going to talk fishing again.
All right.
Got our next guest here. Got my good buddy, Mr. Tim Broadbent. Tim, you with us this morning?
I got you, Dave.
No,
Thanks for
sorry,
having me.
sorry to wake you up so early in the morning, but Tim graciously. Tim is our Region 1 TWRA Fisheries Program Coordinator. He's got one of them big long titles. I just call him.
It goes along with a big pay.
Yeah, I just call him Fish Head 1. He's the number one fish head in the region. And Tim moved into the slot after Dave Rizzuto retired, but Tim for years headed our Kentucky Lake crew over there, data collection and everything. And Tim's been a biologist from how many years you got with us now, Tim?
Almost 30 days.
Yeah, you're right behind me.
Right.
But then before he came to us, he was down in Texas. You did a little stint in Texas, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in Texas and around Austin. I was in Amarillo for a while and worked for the Park Service for a while. So, I moved around quite a bit there.
He's like an armadillo. He just moved north.
Right.
So, but Tim, I was talking to Tim the other day in the office, and I said, hey, you mind doing a segment, on the show? Because Tim's crews, they do fall data collection.
Do a lot of work.
They do spring data collection, and they keep their finger on the pulse of the fisheries here in West Tennessee. And I know, you just got through, back in October, with your fall data collection. And
right.
What did y'all see?
Well, it was better than we thought it would be. You never can tell how spring water levels and these spring water temperatures and air temperatures are starting to affect us. But we've had some pretty good year classes of white crappie on Kentucky Reservoir for the last 3 years. The southern end of the reservoir, say from Leatherwood South, has been really good for 2 straight years. So fishing should start improving down there. It's a little more not quite as consistent in the Big Sandy area, but we did have a really good year class 2 years ago. Last year was okay. It wasn't or this past year, 2015, was not as good as we'd hoped, but it was still a decent year class. So we should see the crappie fishing should start improving on Kentucky Reservoir this spring, and it should continue on for a couple of years, we hope. You never know how water levels and these odd El Niños are affecting our population, so it's tough to deal with at times.
And I know, not only that, what's your bass looking like out there?
Well, the bass is about as good as it's ever been. I mean, you talk to some old timers, and they remember back in the early '90s how good it was. Well, it's better than it was then. They're catching about 1 bass per hour when they go fishing. Then, of course, bass fishermen don't like to harvest bass very often. I think we're up to about 90% catch and release rate, but 1 bass per hour is pretty darn good. We consider .25 excellent, and when you get where we're at now with bass, it's really good. I think we're on all fisheries they fluctuate. You have these boom periods, and then you'll have a couple years of poor year classes, and we're kind of on the back side of that bell curve, I think, where bass fishing may start falling off a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see. With aquatic vegetation and timely water levels has helped the bass population quite a bit.
And I know, I used to talk to him a lot, before he moved into the coordinator's position there, and as a biologist, reservoir biologist. I know, especially in the summer and stuff, I talked to him, and he said, well, I'm off to take, water quality samples and stuff. And over the years, of years and years, I know of you looking at the water quality and stuff, mainly on Kentucky and Pickwick reservoirs and stuff. What have you seen over the years?
Well, it's been pretty consistent as far as water temperatures, dissolved oxygen levels. We have seen a slight increase in clarity of the water at times. A few years ago, it got really clear for some reason. We don't know why. It had nothing to do with Asian carp, because the Asian carp populations in Kentucky Reservoir are not dense enough at this point to impact plankton populations. But over the last couple of years, we've seen the clarity or the phytoplankton populations return, and we don't know why it cleared up there for a while, but it's back to where it was historically. So.
And well, let's talk Asian carp for a minute. There, you mentioned them, and of course, seems like the last half decade, that's been of a major concern of especially fisheries professionals and the fishermen too. You might want to kind of give our listeners a short crash course on Asian carp.
Yeah, they're going to be an issue. They're going to be our biggest management issue, I imagine, over the next 20 years. We had for a long time, I think we started detecting them 3 or 4 years ago, the silver carp. We've had big head carp in the reservoir, I don't know, for 10 or 15 years. They're the ones that don't jump. They get really big. I mean, 100 pounds is pretty common for those things. But for the silver carp, the ones that jump, the ones that everybody sees all the time, we only seen them in the reservoir for like 3 or 4 years, I think, and we only saw 1 year class. The 15 to 20 pound fish, and we could follow it through the year, through the 3 or 4 years, and just watch it grow. And we've known, but this past year we had a disturbing finding. We found some fish less than 10 inches, which is not good. But we do not know if those fish reproduced in Kentucky Reservoir or if they migrated through the lock.
Right.
Because all they do is swim. I mean, they come through and they swim. They never stop. They run in pods, and we did see some in the Big Sandy area, and we collected, I think, one as far south as Birdsong Creek. But as far as densities go, they're still very low, but we are concerned about finding that size of fish in the lake, and we're trying to get some federal money right now to conduct a study to determine if we can collect larval fish in the reservoir, say this next April through September, because these things spawn. They like to spawn on the rise when the water's rising. They do pretty good. And
I know that some of you y'all found some that's made its way into Reelfoot Lake, but I believe.
Yeah.
And but like you said, they're a more riverine type species, so I don't know how well they're going to do in Reelfoot.
Well, they'll like I say, they should not be able to reproduce in Reelfoot.
Right.
They require their eggs to stay suspended so they can mature. What's the problem with Reelfoot is that every time the water gets up over the old levee, it gets a new stocking of silver carp, because they're in the Obion River, and they move up below the dam, and they're sitting there just waiting for something to happen. And this past flood we got another stocking of big silver carp. So we do not think they will reproduce in Kentucky in Reelfoot Lake just because of the conditions. And but as soon as we get the old spillway closed and blocked off, then we should have that problem solved.
Yeah, and of course it always seems going into this time of year, a little later, you know, with the sauger fishermen always get snake bit.
Yeah, you got that right.
With higher water levels. What have y'all seen over the last few years about the sauger population?
We have seen more sauger. Last year, we caught over 37 sauger per hour in our nets last year. So we've been stocking for 3 years because of the depressed population, because of the inconsistent conditions down there. Because, you know, below the dam, you get so much discharge, and
right.
And the eggs, they have a lot of mortality when they don't get the right conditions. So it's very sauger and white bass have a tough time below the dam, and certain years they'll have a good year class. But it seems like the last 2 or 3 years we've had so much discharge during the sauger fishing season, people can't get out and fish.
Right.
It's been incredible. I mean, last year I think the gates were open for 2 straight months.
And that's something to see. When Tim talks about opening gates, when you look at Pickwick, they got 22 gates down there?
22 gates.
And when they're all open at one time, that's a sight to see.
It's incredible. And this year, just this last week, the water got up in the parking lot again. So,
oh boy!
Yeah. I don't know if it got in the motel or not, but it was at 382 is what it got to down there. So.
Yeah, it got pretty high. I was talking to Ray Garton, one of the Hardin County officers, yesterday in the office there, and I was asking him kind of how high the water was, and he said it got high, and it got high, But we sure appreciate you taking time with us this morning, Tim.
Yeah, I need to get a few golf balls sometime.
Yeah, Tim, I can actually say I've played golf with Tim. I've actually seen him make a hole-in-one.
All right.
Yeah, make a hole-in-one. Well, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have you, be a frequent guest probably, because I know here in the next couple of months get warmer, there's going to be farm pond questions and everything. So, but we sure appreciate you taking your time for Outdoors with Larry Ray. And I hear music. I see fingers. So everybody get up, go get you another cup of coffee, and then come back and join us for the next session of Outdoors with Larry Ray.
You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Make some time, take the family, ask a friend.